So I don't think you're going to hear much about my podcast in the Jamaican press. Anything else? The reason for doing the Rootsland podcast? I guess, basically after 3 decades of producing reggae, I realized that everywhere I went, people always wanted to hear my stories more than the music. Record executives at the labels, friends, family, they all wanted to know what it was like to live in Jamaica, to work in Jamaica, to fall in love in Jamaica. And I guess over time I realized, sometimes the story is the best song. Well, obviously the inspiration from the stories, they come from all the great mentors, musicians I had a chance to produce and work with over the years. Bob Andy, Deadly Headley Bennett, Half Pint, Eddie Fitzroy, Garnett Silk, to name a few. The idea for doing the podcast itself, Rootsland, Patrick Curly Locks Gaynor all the way. I was lucky enough to work on those Stirred Up albums back in the early 2000s, a few of those, as a recording engineer. And what Curly Locks was doing with Twin of Twins was so way ahead of the time. He was doing podcasts before podcasts were even popular, before vloggers and bloggers and social influencers. That's what Stirred Up was. And then continuing on with In the Meantime, his YouTube channel. So he encouraged me to do the show. He co-produces it, lends his voice talents. So I'm pretty honored about that. Oh, I'm very happy with the success of the show. #1, Caribbean, Jamaica, Trinidad, Africa, top 10 in about a dozen different countries. It's gotten a lot of press and coverage in the US websites, a lot of the major rock and roll internet sites. Of course, Jamaican media, you're not going to hear anything on the Jamaican websites or the Gleaner or the Star, anything about the show. I've been pretty harsh in my critique of the Jamaican musical industrial complex, the way the media and the powers, the elite forces that control the gatekeeping of reggae have handled the music over the decades. I think they're responsible for this decline, this the rise of Afrobeat and California roots and all this other subgenres of reggae that seem to have surpassed roots in terms of sales, radio airplay, licensing. So I don't think you're going to hear much about my podcast in the Jamaican press. Anything else?